jumping right into the timeline, like Joe mentioned earlier in this episode, the case starts off on October 20th, 2018, which is Saturday. This would be the last time that Terry's son, BJ, had spoken with him. And like we said, Terry was in Rock Springs, Wyoming, and he was heading out to look for a place to hunt. While we don't have verifiable evidence that he was by himself, his family, law enforcement, everyone thinks he was alone on the trip based on the evidence that was found and statements from family. So I think it's safe to assume he was alone on this trip. Mm-hmm. According to his son, his dad was heading out to spot for the upcoming deer hunt he was going on, and he was taking some family members with him. So he wasn't just looking for a spot for himself to hunt, but for some of his family that were coming with.
Okay.
And like I said earlier, Pine Mountain is known as a very good hunting spot. Has lots of sections of sagebush, trees, and some very steep terrain. And hunting season in this part of the country starts in August and ends in November. So moving forward to the next day. So Terry has not been officially reported missing yet, but it's October 21st, 2018, which is Sunday. And some bear hunters from Rock Springs reported this after Terry was actually reported missing, that they had seen his abandoned truck 6 days earlier, the day after Terry left home. So that would have been October 21st. After searching the area, the hunters followed boot tracks leading from the truck and traveling west for about 2 miles down an access road to where the tracks disappeared into the trees. And according to the lead detective on this case, the trees in this area where his tracks disappeared were very thick. Not like, old growth forests where you can kind of see off for a distance, like a wall of vegetation, basically.
Okay.
So, yeah, on the map, now he was on the north end of the mountain, so you're kind of on the east side if you scroll out. And you see where that white dot is. He was
up right on here?
He was up there somewhere. We have some pictures.
Yeah, you can see some roads right here.
Yeah, we have some pictures from law enforcement there where they kind of show where the truck was located. Let's see if you can. We'll get to those pictures in a minute. So this one picture is not very descriptive. It's, I don't know. I mean, you've got Red Creek, so you can kind of.
All right, Highway 430. Okay, you can keep going. I'll try and see if I can. Navigate this.
Like we said, it was very thick vegetation. So the bear hunters at the time didn't report this to the police because I've seen this when I've been up north in Wisconsin hunting. During hunting season, there's trucks kind of parked out in the middle of nowhere all over the place. And it's not uncommon, not that his truck was parked, but it's not uncommon to see trucks out in the woods. And it's also not really... in Wyoming, based on what the detective said and what locals have said, that if you drive around in Wyoming long enough in the backcountry, you're going to get stuck. It's just a foregone conclusion.
Okay.
Just because the roads are so rugged and due to weather, it happens. So it's not even unusual out here in Wyoming to find a truck stuck in a ridge like that. So, so I lost my spot here. So Terry, so the footprints, like I said, were heading west for about 2 miles down an access road, and that would have had Terry heading in the direction of Highway 191 south, which would have been about a 20-mile walk from his location. So in theories of what happened, I'll get into, we'll kind of start factoring this kind of, some of this information in, but that's an important note to make that the direction that he was walking, if he knew he was walking west and knew Highway 191 was in that direction, that's a hell of a hike to do, especially in the dark. So we are fast forwarding now to October 22nd, so the next day. According to family and friends, Terry was actually supposed to meet up with a friend to cut up an antelope, but never showed up. So this is kind of like the first clue that something might be wrong, but again, no one at the time reported it because, sometimes I think I read somewhere that, it wasn't unusual that, maybe he stayed out a little longer to hunt. So,
okay. I got the picture of his truck pulled up. Yeah, he's like just drove into this big wedge.
Yeah, it's probably, like you're driving and your wheel starts getting pulled in. And
it's for those listening, it's like kind of tilted into like almost a little ravine, but the ground is holding up the middle of the car. So think about like on a snowbank, like the wheels aren't touching the ground. So it's not like you could like maneuver. You'd have to get towed out of here.
And I'll get into why these ruts are in the road. The detective kind of detailed why this happens.
Can I guess?
What do you?
Is it for water?
Yes.
For erosion purposes?
No, it happens naturally.
Oh, they didn't dig them out.
No.
Okay.
Okay, so like I said, he missed his appointment with his friend on the 22nd to cut up some antelope. So now this is a very strange coincidence what happened on the 23rd. So October 23rd, 2018, like we said, Terry went out spotting on the 20th. His truck was found by some bear hunters on the 21st, stuck, like the picture Joe is showing. He missed his meeting with his buddy to cut up antelope on the 22nd. And now on the 23rd, a pizza order was made and sent to a family friend of the Meadors with the name Meador written on the box. And the family that received the pizza stated that they had not ordered pizza. So the detective on this case had to waste time tracking this down. But law enforcement ultimately determined this was a prank by a school-age girl who knew the family was close with Terry and simply used his name randomly.
That's a really mean prank.
It was a mean prank. She was playing it on a friend, and
yeah, what a great friend.
Yeah, but
your grandpa's missing. Let's order a pizza.
I think the girl was 6. So
okay.
Young.
Okay,
yeah.
That's fine.
So the law enforcement detective, spent days tracking this down. Eventually, got a warrant from Verizon to get the information from the phone call that made the pizza order.
Well, it taught her a lesson.
And he showed up at the house where the girl was living to talk to her, and I'm sure scared her straight.
Yeah.
Though I heard an interview with the detective. He sounds really nice, so probably everyone in Wyoming's nice.
Yeah.
So that was the 23rd. Very strange coincidence. Had nothing to do with the disappearance. October 25th, 2018, which is a Thursday. Now, some of you who are looking up this case, there were some news reports that stated he was reported missing on the 26th. I'm going to go with the 25th based on law enforcement posts that I read. So Terry is reported missing to the Rock Springs Police Department on the 25th. Now, this is another strange coincidence. There was a reported call or text to Terry's phone on the 25th, but law enforcement was never able to determine if it was in fact a call or a text because the signal wasn't strong enough. So inconclusive. They don't know who was trying to call him.
Okay.
But if people are reporting him missing on the 25th, it does make sense that people probably tried to call his cell phone. So we're now on.
I finally located where his car was.
Okay.
Like right here.
Yeah. So look at that terrain where he, theoretically went missing. Pretty flat.
Yeah, and like wide open.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw it in the picture of the car. I didn't see this map on here the first time, that's why. But yeah, look at it around there. Like, it's not like he got lost in the woods.
No.
Okay.
So we'll get into a little more detail about the car that was found. So it's October 26th, 2018. Deputies and Sweetwater County search and rescue volunteers were on the scene that Friday. The sheriff's department set up a mobile command post, and search activities were commenced with, throughout most of the day, nothing found. And just to put this in perspective for people listening, the county Terry went missing in, Sweetwater County, is 10,000 square miles. It's larger than 6 states, and it's the 8th largest county in the U.S. And really funny, when I listened to an interview with the detective, and he said when he first joined the county sheriff's department back in the early 2000s or mid 2000s, there were 2 deputies that patrolled 10,000 square miles.
Oh my gosh!
So he's like, we could be out working one day, and I could be at a case on one end of the county, and my fellow deputy is like 6 hours away. Like, 10,000 square miles is a huge.
Would they use like helicopters?
No, patrol cars.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
At that point, like I feel like you'd have to make them get like a helicopter license.
I mean, you got to think with how sparsely populated Wyoming is. There's probably, like where we live, sadly, there is, a lot of crime from time to time.
There's probably not a lot, but there's all like you think about rescue.
Yeah.
Like everyone's on their own.
Well, yeah, I mean, these are just the deputies. I don't know about like EMS and fire. I'm sure each little town has their own.
It's all volunteer.
And, like Rock Springs has their own police department. And the cities have their own police departments. But still, 2 deputies when he started for 10,000 square miles is
I'm picturing like a sheriff's office with like the swinging doors.
Oh, yeah.
And they have horses. Like there's like just never like, we're just going to keep it like it was.
There's one
just appoint a deputy. Like I'm going to deputize somebody to help one day and then take it away.
Kind of like Tombstone, the movie.
Exactly.
Or they just pull out deputy badges.
Yep. They just throw your deputy now. That would make me move there actually. So I'm not even disparaging it. Like I every now and then long to live life like that, just like cut off from everything.
But with modern medicine.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
With penicillin. I want to live there with penicillin.
Yeah, back in the Wild West days, if you like got a bad cut and you're playing the infection lottery, like will you survive or not?
The bear market's not really affecting these people.
No. So searching on the 26th went well after midnight, and finally a friend of Terry, Bobby Hammer, located Terry's abandoned truck, which we said the bear hunters had found days earlier. So Sweetwater County deputies were informed by family members that a friend had located Meador's unoccupied pickup, a blue 2013 Chevrolet north of Pine Mountain. And from the picture, you can barely tell that it's blue. There's so much dirt on it. That's how...
Yeah, it hasn't been washed.
And
look at the license plate. You can't even see it. It's zip-tied onto the grill.
Yeah, so the detective on this case mentioned that these ruts happen on the roads from when it gets really wet and soggy. My guess is he was driving and his truck, this has happened to us up north in Wisconsin, when you get on a real wet road, it'll start sliding sideways. And no matter, even if you got four-wheel drive on, it'll start kind of sucking you towards that rut. And
you can even see these tire tracks.
Yep.
He got stuck back there and tried driving out of it.
Yeah, so that's what happened, and we've gotten stuck up in the North Woods, not in a rut that big. We got out, but we were hunting a couple years ago, and we tried to drive through this giant puddle, and we got into the middle of it, and my dad's buddy has a big Ford F-350, and it was like it stopped, and we were like way out in the woods, and we're like, we might be spending the night here. But
I'm surprised they don't have winches on all their trucks. Like, it's not like there's like something a tree could hook onto to pull himself out, but like
another truck if someone came along.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we actually talked about that for up north in future years, get a winch for the truck, because up there's trees you could pull out of.
Yeah, you wrap it around there and pull yourself out.
But so the truck was found high-centered in a large rut with Terry's rifle, binoculars, hunting license, and a small cooler containing a couple bottles of water and a can of soda.
That is a memory I won't forget now. High-centered. That's what it's called when it's stuck like that.
High-centered, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to remember that one. Core memory formed.
Official search and rescue term for a truck that's stuck in a rut.
Can't wait. I can't wait to see a car like that. Like, oh, it's high-centered on the snowbank, because it happens in Milwaukee, and people are like, excuse me?
People will think you're so smart.
I know. Like, wow. What did you just say? It's high-centered.
Yeah. So, like I said, there was water and a can of soda in that cooler, along with some other snacks, according to a report from the Sweetwater County Sheriff. According to his son, he probably also had a handgun with him, which was never found or recovered during the search.
So he brought it with him.
Yeah, so he had it with him. So, like I said, the detective that was in charge of this case said that it can start to snow in the Pine Mountain area in October, and this causes the ground to be really soft and slippery. And like I said, that's how you get those ruts, and that's probably how his truck got stuck. The driver's window was rolled down, which they theorized was to allow Terry to presumably climb out of the vehicle given the steep angle of the truck. So,
he climbed out the driver's side?
Yeah.
Because he could get right to the ground there?
Yeah. Dried mud inside the vehicle and shovel toss in the back of the truck indicated that Terry had attempted and failed to dig his truck out from the rut. So, also, according to the detective on the case, there was no indication that Terry suffered any injuries when the truck got stuck. He noted that there was no physical damage to the interior of the truck or any signs of blood anywhere. So, they're pretty confident that he didn't injure himself when this happened. And I'm sure he was probably driving slow. And it was one of those, like, it just started slowly getting sucked into the rut, and then...
Well, what's weird is... It's a truck. It should be rear-wheel drive, right? But it looks like the front tires are spinning.
Well, he probably was running four-wheel drive.
Yeah, but the back tire isn't coated.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, that's weird.
Maybe he didn't have four-wheel drive on at the time. I don't know.
All right.
So, what else? Yeah, and like I said earlier, locals in Wyoming say that if you spend any amount of time driving around the backcountry, you will eventually get stuck at one point or the other.
It's not a if, but when.
It's a when. I mean, look at these roads.
Yeah.
So now through the next couple days, October 26th through the 30th, they had ground units, they had fixed-wing aircraft and helicopter searches in the air and on the ground. They had search and rescue teams, and family and friends were all out there searching. And I'll get into these pretty cool...
here's the volunteers.
Yeah, here's one of the... I think this was in November. They did a big search and rescue operation later in the fall, which I'll cover here. But, yeah, they had a massive team out there. But I think just like we talked about how expansive...
I mean, that's half the state.
Oh. But, yeah.
I've got dad jokes today.
You got them. So it's October 27th, 2018 now. So the search for Terry south of Rock Springs is still underway, and the Sweetwater County Sheriff Mike Lowell was urgently requesting that no one fly their privately owned drones in the area. So apparently they had a lot of local private landowners and people that had drones now that wanted to fly them around, but
they're worried about the aircraft.
They're worried about the helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft in the air. So they actually had specific times during the search where people could operate drones. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, so they did let people do that, but...
I'm such a fan of crowdsourcing every problem.
Yeah.
Like almost every problem.
Yeah, and the sheriff goes on to say, we had a good number of inquiries and offers to help from drone owners, and we very much appreciate them, but a helicopter is part of the search effort now, and the presence of drones in the search area would create an extremely dangerous situation for the air crews, so it makes total sense.
Yep.
Moving forward to October 28th of 2018. So the search for Terry continued that morning. Sweetwater County Sheriff Mike Lowell said ground units, fixed-wing aircraft, and a helicopter were deployed Saturday in the Alkali Creek, Corral Creek, Salt Wells Creek area about 35 miles generally south of Rock Springs, but were unable to locate Terry Meador. So the search would continue on for several days, and then they organized a very massive search on November 3rd of 2018, which is a Saturday. So Sweetwater County Sheriff mounted a major search operation to stay ahead of weather predicted to worsen over the following days. Sheriff's deputies, canine teams, search and rescue, tip-top search and rescue, a University of Utah AirMed helicopter, and over 150 volunteers, which Joe has pictured here on the screen, participated in the search. Unfortunately, the search was unsuccessful. They went on to say over 60 square miles have been searched now by teams on foot and horseback, along with land and air vehicles on and around Pine Mountain. Structures within the area have also been searched. So 60 square miles is a massive area to search. You know, and that's a lot of people, but that's nothing compared to the size of the search area. And so sadly, November 14th, 2018, which was a Wednesday, the sheriff announced that due to low temperatures and adverse weather conditions, the official search and rescue operation was suspended. So Joe has some interesting pictures up here. So the first map here on the left of your screen, this map depicts the area searched by air and ground units since October 26th, particularly the search of November 3rd, defined by a 5-mile radius extending out from the spot where Meador's pickup was found, which is at the center of the map. County roads and BLM roads are highlighted and dashed with dashed single lines to indicate 2 tracks and trails. The numbers highlighted in yellow identify designated sectors that search teams were assigned and searched.
All right, so those listening, what we're looking at is a map overview of the area. The center of it is a black dot where his car was, and there's a 5-mile diameter circle on the map.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a pie chart. It's not perfect spots, but each section of the pie, there's 7 sections. They're numbered, and that is the search area. So we have like the right side is 1, and it goes around clockwise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, and this is...
And it looks like the search area's got smaller, the more rugged.
Yeah.
It looks like, probably because you won't want to search those huge areas, maybe. I don't know.
And maybe there was more, it required more specialized search teams.
Yeah.
But this is in line with with like modern search techniques. The grid search technique. It doesn't always have to be like a square or rectangle. It's a diameter, and they basically chop it up into pieces. And
yeah, I'll do a photo folder on Facebook for this episode and drop all these in here. So if you're listening now, want to check it out later, it'll be available.
Yeah, so now if you go back to that picture with the 2 maps,
okay,
the map on the right, so because footprints leading generally west, away from the Meador pickup truck were reported, Sector 4 was a subject of an enhanced search. Searchers on foot and trackers scoured in particular the course of Red Creek from the Red Creek Ranch to the spot where Meador's pickup truck was found. So...
Now, they said his footprints weren't going along a road, though?
They were for about 2 miles and then kind of disappeared into the woods.
That's wild.
Yeah. There's a theory.
Okay.
Law enforcement has a theory on why
I was going to say, I would stay on a road.
His tracks.
At a minimum, you're going to... There's like one road.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, you would stay on the road. And even, I have some like notes about the case, but his son... mentioned that his dad always told him, if your truck gets stuck, stay with the truck. Someone will find you. And this one time, Terry didn't take his own advice. It's same like in the woods. If you get lost and you realize, like, I'm lost, you stay in one spot.
Well, and not disparagingly, but like with the whole technology, he seems like kind of like a typical stubborn old guy, like how I'm going to be. Like, I'm stuck in my ways. So, like, if that's his philosophy, he's not going to break his own philosophy.
No.
Unless he's forced to for whatever reason.
Yeah. So, in theories, I'll go into...
Okay, I'll hold off.
Yeah, I'll go into... the law enforcement has a pretty good theory of what happened to him. So, like I said, it was November, 14th, when they called off the search and rescue officially. But like they do in a lot of missing persons cases, the following year when SAR teams are out there training, they trained in areas where people went missing. So... in September of 2019, a search and rescue team with cadaver dogs was training in the area, and they found a glove in the area where Terry had disappeared. His son saw the glove and didn't recognize it as something his dad would wear, but they decided to send the glove off for DNA testing. But unfortunately, the testing lab couldn't find enough DNA to figure out whose glove it was, like anybody.
Oh, it was probably sitting out in the elements too long?
Yeah, so the results were inconclusive. So that is the main timeline. I have just some notes here about the case and about other things that happened. So we had another weird coincidence of the phone. So at some point... during the disappearance, Terry's phone dialed the Sands Inn Hotel, and
his phone number.
His phone number called the Sands Inn Hotel
after we went missing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
so
he did have a cell phone on him.
He did have a cell phone on him, but they think it might have been
like low on battery or something.
And they don't know when he had his cell phone on him.
Okay,
they couldn't determine.
So they're probably just speculating all of it based on how he normally goes throughout the day.
So the call lasted for under a minute. It was a call to the Sands Inn Hotel. The law enforcement could not determine one way or the other if it was on purpose or it was a butt dial. His son thinks it might have been a butt dial. No one in his family or friends has any clue why he would call that hotel. My question is, it probably was a butt dial, but...
How do you butt dial?
I mean, we don't know what kind of phone he had. He might have had a flip phone,
like a jitterbug,
old brick phone, or, why was that hotel number in his phone? Maybe he stayed. Maybe he had friends and family.
I'd say it's a small town. Maybe like you just knew someone who worked there.
Yeah. But, his son went on to say that his dad would have no reason for calling anyone at the hotel. So
okay.
It probably was just a butt dial. Maybe he had it in his phone from prior trips that people, came into Wyoming to visit. So, and like we said, his son said his dad was not a techie kind of guy. He would never really use his cell phone. Like he had it with him, but he would keep it turned off, or he would forget to charge it, and it would usually go straight to voicemail. He also said, so we know he was bipolar, and he actually had an incident back in 2005 when he was, I believe, moving his mother into an assisted living home in Arizona, and he went off his meds. And he ended up being admitted to a psychiatric facility in Phoenix for several days while they got him, back on his medication and had everything adjusted. So he did have a case of going off his meds and kind of going, having issues in the past. And the detective also mentioned that he did in the past have a DUI. I don't know the actual date of that, but the detective went on to say that from everything in his, case file, Terry was a very law-abiding citizen with all respects, and he was, very well liked and loved in the family and in the town. So even though, he had a DUI, like that was a one-off kind of thing.
Sure. Well, and stress is like one of the main triggers of the bipolar episode.
Yes. So, and finally,
I knew that one.
One little tidbit here. The week Terry went missing was the 24th anniversary of his wife passing away.
Oh, okay. So, like, he could have had that emotional stress on top of his truck stuck.
Yeah.
Now he's walking. Okay. I won't go into theory.
You're starting to, you're starting to piece together a little bit of